Emmanuel Macron is trying to find a new way to get the UK to stay in the customs union through the back door, and the European Union are getting more divided over Brexit. Hello everyone and welcome to today's vlog. We're going to talk about the progress that we've made in the Brexit negotiations and how Emmanuel Macron is not happy about the lack of fisheries policy in the potential trade deal, because as you know, Michel Barnier has already made a U-turn and wants to basically get rid of this access to British waters. So he's begging countries like the Netherlands and France to also back down if they want a trade deal with the UK. But before we start talking about that, I'm actually outside today because I'm packing my stuff. I'm moving tomorrow, so I'm gonna do the whole vlog from outside my house and come to Hyde Park because today, Sunday, is the last day of essentially the social measures of the lockdown, and we want to see how many people are actually out, because they're not supposed to be. It's from tomorrow, Monday, but I'm pretty sure this place is going to be packed. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of people out here. I don't want to get close too much to film them, but there's big groups of like 10s, 20s, but they're still kind of socially distancing from other groups. Yeah, a bit of social distancing. So let's talk about Macron, because as you guys remember, back in during the whole 2018-19 negotiation process, he was trying to find a way to get Theresa May to agree to a customs union through the kind of backstop basically that we had, and that was his way to keep the UK in the customs union. And now he knows that we're not going to give access to British waters to France, so he wants to take the trade deal, the potential trade deal, up to a point where they'll give us a trade deal as long as there is an actual backstop or a customs union. According to the Express, the Brexit trade talks are in a state of stalemate, with the UK looking to gain independent control of its fishing grounds and leaving the common fisheries policy. The agreement allowed the EU vessels to fish on British shores freely, but now the UK has left the bloc. These countries may now lose their access. One country concerned about this is France, making the French President Emmanuel Macron threatening to increase the integration with the EU if Boris Johnson doesn't backtrack on his fisheries promise. I'm not sure how he's going to be able to do this, because if Boris and the chief negotiator David Frost go with what they have promised, and I think it's too late for them to make a U-turn. They've said no to fisheries, they've said no to any customs union or anything like that, no to a full backstop. I'm not really sure what Macron is playing out here, because I think it's just a desperate move. It's not going to happen. You're either going to end up with no deal, or last minute they're going to agree to, I think what they might do is agree to some sort of flexible fisheries policy where we will give access to the EU based on payments. So, I don't know, so they pay us, or based on time limits, which is kind of, again, silly, but we'll have to wait and see what both sides are going to do about this. Now, in the middle of all this, one of the former MEPs, German MEPs, has come out and said that Brexit will clear the way for the United States of Europe, as Germany has lost someone to hide behind, which was the UK. And it's kind of interesting, because this guy has said that when Brussels wanted more solidarity, London voted for self-responsibility. When Brussels wanted more power, London reminded the EU of its commitment to subsidiarity. When Brussels worked towards equalizing the distribution of wealth in the EU, London insisted on competition as a policy making the EU to more competitive. By contrast, he added that with Britain out of its way and leaving the whole bloc, the Europhiles now have a clear road towards the United States of Europe. So this is an interesting comment made by this former German MEP. It's an interesting situation because Guy Verhofstadt has tweeted things like this. 15 years ago, I wrote the United States of Europe, calling for a Hamilton moment in European politics so that Europe can finance itself properly and can be more than the sum of its parts. Hopefully the Macron-Merkel proposal will deliver this historic leap forward. Now, we know that the desperate European Union are trying to find a way to extend the Brexit transition. And David Frost was answering to Parliament the other day about the extension, and this is what he said.
Well, as I say, I don't make policy, I only advise on it. The policy is set by the Prime Minister and by XS, and it's the firm policy of the government that we will not extend the transition period, and if asked, we would not agree to it. And I take that as a given. I can see why that position has been taken. I think we've always put a lot of emphasis on economic and political freedom at the end of this year and on avoiding ongoing significant payments into the EU budget. And of course, those things are accomplished by ending the transition period at the end of the year. So I work within that, and it's my job to get an agreement in the time that's available.
So it's quite clear that the UK will not give the EU any extension. But I'm now actually in an outside Parliament, and today there's a weird protest. As you've seen what happened in America the last couple of days with a police officer who was actually arrested and charged. Now these idiots, the left-wing protesters, are going outside Downing Street to shout at the British police. The British police had nothing to do with what happened in America. Now these idiots, look at them. Seriously. Right, so Westminster was quite packed. There was a lot of protesters, so I actually come back to near Green Park, and let's continue the video. Now, with everything that's going on, according to the Express, the European Union are in a world of pain, and why Brussels needs a Brexit trade deal with the UK in order to fight for survival. And they're absolutely right, considering that political experts are now warning that Boris Johnson is now holding the firm advantage in these negotiations. And that's a fair point, because not only Boris is now holding all the cards, most of the cards at least, without being too biased, is that the European Union are now also scared that Boris might not actually pay the full divorce bill if there's no trade deal. Yeah, so the European Union are now panicking because Brussels fears that the UK won't pay a full Brexit bill. Capitals are now asked to plug the black hole. So they're begging the capital cities in Europe to offer larger guarantees to the bloc's budget in order to safeguard against the hard Brexit. I really hate that terminology, hard Brexit. It's just Brexit, guys, just Brexit. The EU Budget Commissioner, Johannes Hahn, said that member states should be prepared to hand over more cash in case Britain doesn't pay its full Brexit bill. The UK left the EU at the end of January, but agreed to continue paying towards the various financial obligations that the country agreed to while still a member. The OBR estimated that the total financial settlement to be worth just over £30 billion when the UK left the EU. Right, I know I said I'm going to spend most of the day actually out, but my hay fever was absolutely crazy today, so it was killing me. So I came home, took a shower, and now I'm back. Yeah, so as I said earlier, the whole issue with this divorce settlement is that Boris Johnson did, at least as a bluff, did say back in December, November, that if there is no deal, he wouldn't pay the settlement. That forced the EU to come back and gave him a withdrawal agreement. And the same thing could happen again. And if we do leave without a deal, I really want to hear from David Frost to see what the plan is. Because at this point, the UK government and David Frost team, who have been absolutely amazing, by the way, are very frustrated. This is what he said about their frustration from the UK side.
You're right. We obviously are quite a long way from the broad outline of an agreement that we hope to be at this point. We are, I guess, frustrated that it is clear from the discussions that we've been having in the last few months that a free trade agreement and the economic aspects of this negotiation could be agreed pretty quickly, but that other issues like the level playing field, like fisheries and so on, get in the way. I hope we can make some constructive progress next round and in the run into the high-level meeting. Obviously, it's going to be limited. We have to see how that high-level meeting can be used to make progress in the best way. Personally, I hope it can be a way of giving some new impetus.
Well, I agree with everything that David Frost said in that video. So this is what we have for today, but I just want to mention earlier when I was outside Parliament, those idiotic, irrational kids shouting at the British police for something that has happened in America. And I don't really know what to say about this, because the whole situation has been is being addressed in the States anyway. The guy's been arrested, charged, and there's going to be a process. Obviously, every now and then the legal system is not perfect, so some people get away with things. But at this point, I don't think this guy will get away with what happened. But we'll have to wait. But the left always try to take advantage of any situation, any crisis, to push for their own agenda. The idiots who are out in London today shouting at the police, you can't even compare the British police to the American police. Like, they're two different entities, very different mentalities. And yeah, so I think this is going to be an ongoing issue now after this lockdown issue and everything, and Brexit. We're going to see a new wave of irrational, left-wing, extreme idiocy that's going to kind of continue at least until the re-election of Donald Trump actually happens. And again, with everything that they've done over the last couple of days, I'm pretty sure Trump's going to be re-elected. So, their actions is actually it's a counterproductive kind of sort of thing that they created. They just need to shut up and go home. This is not how you deal with these sort of things in a democracy. Just grow up. Right, I need to go and pack the rest of the stuff, because, as I said, I'm moving homes tomorrow. Hopefully, I'll still be able to do my news show tomorrow. I'll try and see if I could also do my daily vlog, but if there's no time, apologies in advance for the lack of daily vlog for tomorrow night. But as I said before, I want to say a massive thank you to all the members who've been supporting me. Check out the community page on YouTube if you are a member, because there's a surprise for you guys for me to give something back for all the support that you have been giving me recently. And if you're not a member, check out the link in the description, or go on your browser and type in youtube.com/MayaTousi/join. And if you're new to the channel, subscribe and click on the bell next to it so you get notified. I'm Maya Tousi. I'll see you guys tomorrow with a new video.